Dear students, good evening. Let us discuss today's article, that is December 3rd, 2022. There are not many articles today, but we'll try to discuss in deep the existing articles itself. The article which I like the most is Varun Gandhi's article, that is Indian politics need a dose of new experimentalism. In this, to understand this article, we need to understand what is the primary function of parliament. It's a forum that has to represent different interests in the country. It shall consist of different viewpoints. It shall be an arbitrator between contesting interests. And it has to ensure that every viewpoint found its place in the discussion and debate over there. In these circumstances, the representation in the parliament also has to be diverse. It shall consist of women, it shall consist of people of different sexualities, people from different professions. Then only the discussion over there becomes diverse. Today in India, regional diversity is maintained in our parliament. If you see people, all the states are being represented proportional to their population in Lok Sabha. The second thing is gender diversity. If you observe, women, even after these many years of independence, did not cross 10% in our parliament. Third is professionals. If we observe, most of the people in the parliament, these are business people or lawyers. It means wider professions like doctors, engineers, wider professions are not being represented. Let's go to the age-wise. India is an young country with young people but represented by old people. The average age of MPs crossed 50 years in India. So that's why Indian democracy is also been criticized as gerontocracy. So the democracy of old people. And in this case, the wider representation of young people, that is what we need to talk about. After this, if we want to broaden rights, SCs, STs, OBCs, and then transgenders, like this, we need to bring in different groups into the parliament. SC/ST enjoy the reservations, but their voice is not so heard because of the existing anti-defection law. In the interests of their group, they can't oppose and talk against their political party. So that's why we can simplify this anti-defection law, where the voice of the people, voice of the MPs can be strengthened irrespective of the opinion of the political party. So the anti-defection law has to be relaxed. And anti-defection law can be applied only for important motions like where the government can collapse. So that's where we can use the anti-defection law. But regular discussions applying anti-defection law, regular voting applying anti-defection law from bill to bill, it is not expected. So what this article is essentially saying is Indian parliament has to become truly diverse, not just regionally, but gender-wise, age-wise, profession-wise, it has to become diverse. That is what is the article of Varun Gandhi. When different interests, different people represent in the parliament, the debate becomes dynamic and it will have the true spirit of democracy. Connecting India's East with the Indo-Pacific. Let us try to understand this article of Raju Bhatia. So today Indo-Pacific is becoming a famous buzzword. Then how India has to develop its narrative on Indo-Pacific. If you talk about Indo-Pacific, you have Oceania, and then you also have East Asia, Southeast Asia. All these countries comes under Indo-Pacific. So in this case, India has ASEAN, relations with ASEAN. It also has established BIMSTEC. Now, overriding all these things, the narrative in the global affairs is changing to Indo-Pacific. So, how India has to place itself in this Indo-Pacific? First is, BIMSTEC is the door or window for us to open ourselves to Indo-Pacific. So, we have got many of the ASEAN countries and also many of the countries which are part of the SAARC like Bangladesh, part of BIMSTEC. So that's why first is BIMSTEC shall open us towards the Indo-Pacific. Second is, so with regard to Indo-Pacific, which part of India is going to benefit the most? Eastern India and Northeast India. So in these circumstances, the interests of East India and Northeast India and their needs have to be mixed or amalgamated with Indo-Pacific. Finally, there is a strong cultural dimension. If you talk about India and Japan, so if you talk about Nehru and Abe relationship, that clearly talks about strong cultural connection between the oceans. So that's why geocultural dimension is one thing where India can engage in Indo-Pacific. So the three aspects we need to do is the BIMSTEC shall be our window, and we need to consider the voices from East India and Northeast India which are expected to benefit, and geocultural dimension has to be strengthened. These are the points we need to remember. And Indo-Pacific, for our interest, we need to have it to be free, open, inclusive, peaceful, and prosperous. That is the vision of India for Indo-Pacific. Next is great responsibility. You know that India became the president of G20. And G20 is a powerful grouping today because it consists of developed countries plus developing countries. They represent 75% of GDP. I think 60% of global population, if I am wrong. So 60% of trade they represent. It means that's a strong economic entity. So in this scenario, as a president of G20, what was India's motto? What is India's motto? Vasudhaika Kutumbam. That is one earth, one family, and one future. So it has to collectively work towards the future of the mankind. That is what is the vision India has envisioned. In this case, India is focusing on what during the G20 presidency? One is on counter-terrorism, supply chain disruptions, and the global unity in the midst of Ukraine-Russia war. What are the challenges as a president we are going to face? One thing is, the Europe is divided because of Russia-Ukraine war. And second, between Russia and West, there is the tensions are increasing. And added to that, economic recession is looming on us. It is the time of economic recession. And then Western countries are creating sanctions on energy, especially energy flowing from Russia. So that's where the cost of living crisis is increasing and inflation is going high across the countries. Obviously, as head of G20, India has to facilitate the smooth transition of the world with regard to these crises. These are the articles for today. Thank you very much.